Hey friends, I had a day of travels today. Not quite on the level of flying to Chicago or driving to Colorado, but I went up to Santa Fe with my daughter. I had some sort of logistical stuff to take care of, but it ended up being a trip, a whole day on the road with Elise, and I'm getting to watch her grow. I'm getting to watch her change by the day. I swear to God, every time she sleeps late, it's like her brain goes through some sort of paradigm shift, which she did again this morning, and which is why she wasn't in school today. She slept 2.5 hours past when I normally wake her up, and I knew she needed it. And then she was kind of just under the weather, so I thought, I've got a day when I actually could take her with me, so I did. And my God, we came back from Santa Fe after having a really fun time up there, tooling around, had a little lunch, and then we came back to her violin lesson, which was this afternoon. We got in a little early, so we went into the recital hall at the violin shop here. There's just this beautiful recital hall. It should cost many, many hundreds of dollars an hour to rent, but it's just part of the facilities where she takes lessons. So we walked in, we played every song in book one of her Suzuki violin book one. Then we played the 2 songs she knows from book 2. And then we went into her violin lesson. And it's dawning on me, it's really, and I think it's dawning on my wife as well. We're watching her just get grabbed by music. We're watching her really take it on and really just own it. She said to several people over the past several weeks that playing violin is her favorite thing to do. And that's, I mean, as a musical parent, as a musician parent, there's just nothing more joyful than to watch that. And I started to think, I've been reading this book, Immunity to Change, which I've talked about in my last few posts. There's a process you go through where you essentially, you kind of like do this exercise where you look at like, okay, well, what do I want? What change would I like to make? Or even just like, what would my ideal sort of goal or circumstance be? Then in column 2, you put, well, what behaviors are getting in the way of that? Then in column 3, you put what underlying commitments, hidden commitments, do these column 2 behaviors presuppose, and there may even be things that show up, column 2 and column 3 are kind of like, they inform each other, but you might also just have independent ideas in either one of them. Especially column 3, you might find a commitment that makes the column 2 behaviors make perfect sense, but that has never been visible before. And then you look at, in column 4, you look at assumptions. What assumptions do these commitments, what assumptions are inherent in these column 3 commitments that may or may not be true? And I've started to, I didn't actually do this today. I put it on my calendar for today, but I didn't do it just because I didn't know I was going to have Annalise with me all day. I thought I was going to have a day to myself. But I started to realize that these are that exercise can be done for any area of life. It's not like that only can be done in one area of life. I mean, I think there might be some value in doing it as a sort of overarching exercise, an overall, they call it the one big thing for a reason, because it's like the one big thing that you want to change in your life. But I started to think, I could be doing an exercise like this for compartments of my life too, like my involvement in Annalise's music, because I can see the way I would like to optimally be, right? I can sort of like go, yeah, here'd be my column one, perfect, optimal way. Here's what I sometimes see myself doing instead. What does that presuppose? What are the underlying commitments that I have that I may or may not, that I may be somewhat conscious of, but not fully? And then what assumptions are inherent in that column 3 deviation from what I say I want? So I'm just playing with that idea. Like I said, I didn't actually get to do that today. I was kind of hoping to be able to report on doing that work, doing that exercise, and seeing what it illuminates, which is something that I will do. I will do that, and I will report on it. But it's just really interesting to me to observe how much of life can sort of be approached or addressed in this way. It really feels like there's the ways in which we wish we could change but don't believe we can change, or at least are not sure whether we can really change. Those areas of life almost always, almost without exception, there's some sort of other commitment that we're not aware of that's spinning off this feeling like nothing can change here. It's bizarre. It's anytime that there's something that it feels like I don't know if I can really change that, that's almost like you can just make the assumption that there are commitments that you have that are precluding that change from happening, and that are in some ways more important to our subconscious than the change that our conscious mind is so anxious to make. So I feel like there's a kind of pulling some things apart here that I would do really well to do. And one of the issues is one of the things that's also been coming up for me is like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I sort of need to do it in some sort of small community at least, because you kind of want to have affirmation from other people that the thing you've identified is actually your thing, right? That the change you want to make is actually the change that you need to make. A lot of times other people be better at telling us that than ourselves. We may be very self-aware and know this, but we may not. And one of the points that they keep citing one of the early examples of doing this work with a company, and the CEO of the company really took it on and ended up kind of informing the program along with the founders. And one of the things he kept saying, he kept insisting on is, we think that our one big thing, we think that our barriers, our underlying hidden commitments are this big secret that we're going to have to reveal, and it's going to require vulnerability, and it's going to be like we're going to be so exposed by revealing this. And that is true. That is absolutely true. But what is also true is that everybody already knows. And they already talk about it. And that's not comfortable to think. But as I was listening to that part of the book, I was like, that makes total sense. That's absolutely true. It's exposing when we say it out loud, when we admit it publicly, and we allow it to be seen as opposed to trying to hide it from being seen. That creates vulnerability in us, but actually the reveal to others is not really a reveal. The people who know us already know this about us. So yeah. I guess I am exploring what it will mean, what it does mean, and what it will mean to do this work in a deep way. And I'm realizing, okay, some of it's got to happen in reference to other people, so that it's not just happening in an echo chamber. We need that external visibility. We need people who can see through us. As scary and as uncomfortable as it can be, we need that if we're going to change. So that's where I'm at today, folks. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.